Hello everyone, and welcome to Matt Talks Games Episode 3. I'm not gonna lie, I'm taping this on Saturday evening. I had already done an entire recording Friday evening after my wife and I had watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and after an hour and 15 minutes of absolutely riveting conversation that I only wish you could hear, none of the audio was captured. So here I am again the next night, talking about all the same stuff I talked about yesterday, and hopefully it will be just as entertaining and informing. And just to briefly talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, again, I thought episode 4 was a good episode. I'm not as keen on Falcon and the Winter Soldier as I was on WandaVision. I still think that WandaVision was a much better show in the way that it was done, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier is still very ABC TV-ish, but it's still really interesting. It's still, way up there, and I still love it and want to see where it's going. I just know there are a couple things where I'm like, not the biggest fan, but man, I love all the Marvel stuff, and I'm excited to have more of it, and I can't wait. There's only 2 episodes, and it doesn't seem like there's enough time to finish everything that they're doing, but I can't wait to see where this is going and where it leads in the future. But that is not what this podcast is about. This is all about me talking about games. So I'm going to start with what I've been playing, going to talk about the news, throw in the extra, and then what's on my mind this week is falling out of love with online games, and just kind of my whole journey with gaming online with various games and various people. So hopefully you enjoy that. We'll take a brief break and come back with what I've been playing. All right, to start off with what I've been playing, much is the same as last week. Phone games like your Township and your Ad Cap and your Idle Miner and stuff, where you just pop in every now and then for a few minutes and do that. Merge Magic, same thing. You just pop in, play, whatever. Merge Magic has had a couple events though, so that's been fun. It's always nice to play the events. I played some more Loop Hero. Still haven't finished that game. Still interested to see where it's going, but I feel like I still have a long ways to go before I get to the end of that game. I tried another one of the newer-ish games on Steam called Dorf Romantic. It's spelled DORFROMANTIK. Someone on a podcast that I had listened to had referred to it as single-player Carcassonne, and I absolutely love that description. Basically, what the game is you are given a stack of hexagonal tiles. Hexagonal tiles, and they have, some sides have houses, some sides have rivers, some sides have forest, train, various things, and you're trying to connect like items to score more points. And then you'll have a quest of doing, say 20 plus houses or 12 plus river, or water tile, I should say. And if you complete whatever quest is given to you, you get more cards. And it's, trying to complete quests to get more cards so that you can keep going, so you can get a higher score. And it's all that's leaderboard based, where you're just trying to increase your score. But the nice thing about it is a very chill game. It's got nice, relaxing music. There's no timer. There's no set anything. You just kind of play at your own pace. And it was definitely a good investment. It's for something very chill. I can see just, needing a time to just kind of shut my brain off. You still have to think about what you're doing, but it's very relaxing and no pressure. And you're just trying to connect like things. So if that sounds interesting to you, try it out, because I definitely think it's worth it. I'm going to play more of it for sure, because it is a nice little chill game. I did try hopping back into 2 Dots on my phone. That's another game that I play every now and then. I don't care about leaderboards and meta and whatever. It's just one of those time wasters that's fun to go in and play and make some squares every now and then. I played some Tetris 99, and I also played some Pac-Man 99. Now that Mario is officially dead and gone, they released Pac-Man 99 onto the Nintendo Switch, and it was fun. I played a couple matches. I think I've already deleted it off my Switch because I'm just not a Pac-Man guy, and it is way more confusing, where Tetris is more straightforward. And Mario 35 was cool. I felt like a lot of those matches kind of dragged on for way too long, because you'd just be stuck with one other player running World 1-1 over and over, and you just wouldn't lose. So it was just more of a will of attrition at that point. But Pac-Man 99 was kind of fun. It is if you like Pac-Man, I can, go do it. Why not? It's cool, but it just didn't feel for me, because I just, it felt too confusing, and I wasn't really a big Pac-Man player in the first place. But I appreciate they are trying new things, and this whole quote unquote 99 version of games that they're doing, it just makes you wonder what's next. Is it going to be Galaga 99 or Centipede 99 or Dig Dug 99? Who knows? But only the future will tell. So we'll see. We'll see what's next on the slate for Nintendo. I've been playing a lot of Super Punch-Out too, which I never played before. And the thing about Super Punch-Out is I'm actually trying to legitimately play through it without looking up guides, without looking up how to beat them. The nice thing with, I've been playing them through the Switch with the SNES online. So you have the advantage of making save states. So it's kind of nice of, okay, well, now I kind of get the pattern. Let me load. Okay, now I got butt kicked. Let me load. But it's been fun trying to actually legitimately get through that game. I haven't gone all the way through yet, but you chip away every now and then. We got a couple minutes, just go in and try to figure out the next fighter on your own without cheating or looking anything up. So that's been kind of fun to play. I tried Fallout Shelter as some little time waster on the PS5. I installed it one night and I deleted it that night, because man, it's just so frustrating where, I had this on my phone. I actually remember the E3 when it was stealth dropped, and I just kept refreshing the App Store trying to get it. And I played it for a long time on my phone, and I had all these sorts of pets. Everybody had weapons. My vault was like almost completely optimized. I mean, I'm sure it could have been perfected more, but I did an awesome job getting that vault just perfect. And so I thought, well, it's just something different to try and play and everything. But the most frustrating part was just building up my vault from start and remembering how the game played. And you would try to rush a room and it would say incident chance 33%. But I swear, like 7 out of 8 times when it said 33%, it, caused me to fail the rush attempt. And then I ended up in a situation where, my vault isn't making what it needs to make. People are dying in my vault, and it just wasn't fun where, if it says 33%, I would think, okay, 33%, but it was really like 90% that you were going to fail. And it just didn't feel good. And I had my fill of the game. I was just looking for something that maybe I could mindlessly, kind of toil away at another couple minutes at a time to try to cycle through when I don't have a long session to sit there, and just didn't do it for me. So it's already gone. But it was kind of nice to just go back because it was a fun game. It reminded me of all the fun times that I had with it back in the day. Other than that, the only other game that I've really been playing is Watch Dogs Legion. I feel like I'm maybe about halfway through the story at this point. It's still not a great game. I'm still enjoying playing it, but I feel like definitely I want to know what like a Watch Dogs Legion 2 would be, because I feel like they had a really good idea with the story, or with the setting, and with the recruit anyone and do any, be able to be anyone. But that didn't really pay off for me because, for 80% of what I've been playing, I've just been playing the same person because they can do everything that I need them to do. And there's only been like 1 or 2 missions where they force you to be someone else for whatever reason. And even one of the latest ones, they wanted me to be an Albion security guard so I could sneak through this. But I feel like I was only barely lasting longer before I got detected. And that just kind of didn't feel good to me. Like, the whole point is you're an Albion security guard, so go into an Albion place and you'll kind of be able to sneak by security. But they still noticed you right away. I mean, the bar didn't fill into complete attack mode, if you will, right away, but it just didn't feel like it gave me enough anonymity. I'm an Albion security guard. I should be able to get through this place a little bit better. And I just felt like that was kind of lacking, where I would have rather just played my normal person and had all my normal loadout, because I didn't feel like the advantage was there. And I really haven't felt like a real need to do anything, because throughout the city, you have access to everything you need, no matter who you are. So there's really no need to change different people. And, I felt like they had a really good idea, but I feel like they spent so much time working on this recruit anyone and have all these different abilities, and all these things are procedurally generated and everything. And they spent so much time with that technology that they didn't spend enough time with the story to make it really engaging. And there are certain things where, like, you'll get a mission and it'll say, go here to talk to this person. So I fast travel there and I talk to them and they're like, cool, here's your mission. We need help with this. And then I look at where the next checkpoint is and it's like clear across the map. So then I just fast travel over there to get close. Then I do whatever I have to do. And it's like, cool, now go talk to this person. And I look and it's like, again, halfway across the map, and it's just fast travel to get close. And some of that just didn't feel right to me, where it didn't feel like cohesive, because I was just I've been constantly fast traveling through this game to do all the missions, and it just didn't feel fun, because it's like there's no incentive to like go there and then go to the next mission and then go through. It just felt so choppy because they're so all over the place that it just makes more sense to fast travel to the next place. And that really takes me out of it, because even though I am playing on PS5, the loading times are long enough where it's like, I'll pick up my phone, because I can probably look at something real quick by the time I load in. It's not super fast like some of the other games, which has also been kind of a drag. So, I mean, all in all, I have been enjoying the game. I like the systems. It's been fun to play, but there's just been a lot of little nitpicks where I'm like, okay, I want to see where this is going. I want to see what Watch Dogs Legion 2, if you will, introduces to this game, because they have a lot of cool ideas, but all in all, it's not really a fully fleshed out product. And maybe the story will turn and it'll be cool at the end, but I just don't feel like that's where it's going. And I kind of already have some feelings on a couple of things, so we'll see how that pans out. But that's been the big game that I have been playing in between. When I have big chunks of time to sit down, and when I don't, I've been playing all the other little stuff here and there. So that's about all I've been playing. So when I come back, we have a ton of news to talk about. So buckle in. All right, news. Let's talk about it. First story was from Ian Walker at Kotaku. He talked about how the analog pocket shipments were pushed back to October. I thought this was an interesting story because it all talks about how analog pocket, which was supposed to be almost like a miracle device for all your like kind of Game Boy, Game Gear, pocket type systems, you'd be able to play all your old cartridges in this system, and they were touting that it isn't emulation based. They're trying to be as real and authentic to the system that you used to play. But they are one of the first ones that have said, hey, that boat that got stuck in the Suez Canal, that's causing us to be massively delayed. So we're trying our best, but instead of I think it was a March release, it's now being pushed back to October. That's kind of a big bummer for a lot of people that had been backing this and looking to get their shipment and get to play some of these old games. But it is also interesting because I know the analog line of products has been touted it for not using emulation and actually trying to be as true to the source material as possible, when I know there are other products like the Retron 5 that came out not too long ago where they came under a lot of slack because they were just outright using emulation or emulators that were supposed to not be for commercial use, but they put them on their product and then sold it like that. So definitely not the most legal way. But analog has been interesting because they've been trying to say, hey, we're not emulating, we're actually trying to play the games as they were meant to be played in their original environment. So that's kind of a cool part of the story where I didn't realize that that's what they were doing. They were trying to make it as authentic as possible. So bummer that they got delayed and that a boat caused them to miss their shipment dates, but hopefully everyone will be able to enjoy those games in the fall. The next story was just kind of a funny one. Nathan Grayson from Kotaku reported on this one where a millionaire forgot to pay his electric bill. And it's just another case of a Twitch streamer who, I didn't look into him too much, but he's obviously making 7 figures or more. And he was streaming one night and the stream just cut off and no one knew what happened. And he tweeted a little while later and said, hey, sorry, I forgot to pay my electric bill, and I got shut down. And it's just a reminder that, even though you see these Twitch streamers and they make all these subscriptions and all these sponsorship dollars and whatever, but they're still normal people. Hey, hey, maybe he forgot to turn bill pay on. Maybe he just missed his day. Who knows why? But yeah, his electricity got cut off, so he couldn't stream. So even though you look up to these people sometimes for, being out there and streaming and being a course of entertainment, they're just regular people too. They forget things, mistakes happen. So kind of a funny story that you don't hear too often. Adam Michael from the PS blog is reporting on the PlayStation Plus games for April. They are Days Gone, Oddworld Soulstorm, and Zombie Army 4 Dead War. Most notable on here is Oddworld Soulstorm because that is the PS5 version. It's a brand new game, and you get the PS5 version for free as long as you're a PS Plus member. So that's kind of a cool bonus because I'm sure I'll check it out. I've never been an Oddworld person, but free on PS Plus, why not? Days Gone, I did have a lot of fun with. I probably played about 40 hours or so before I bounced, but I've always wanted to go back. I just never got around to it, but it was cool for what it did. It's just a very long game. So if you want to check that out, buckle in because it takes a while. Zombie Army 4 Dead War. It seems kind of like a Left 4 Dead type, zombie shoot 'em up type game. I don't know much about it, although I know, there are a couple outlets out there that seem to really enjoy that game. So maybe worth a look. Similarly, the Xbox Games with Gold for April were announced. This was from Leanna Rupert from Game Informer is where I pulled it from. The games with gold are Vikings, Wolves of Midgard, the April 1st to the 30th, Truck Racing Championship, April 16th to May 15th, Dark Void, April 1st to the 15th, and Hardcore Uprising, April 16th to the 30th. Definitely feels like a bit of a downgrade, if you will, from the PS Plus games, but interesting that Games with Gold is still out there and trying because they have Game Pass, and that seems to be where a lot of the good deals and good games go. So Games with Gold, I can't complain. You get free games, 4 of them every month. Well, they're weird dates notwithstanding, but they're still free games, and it's still adding to a service that they're obviously, I'm sure, trying to push off. They want everybody on Game Pass, but cool that we're still getting free games, even if they aren't the Days Gones or Oddworld brand new games of PS Plus. So check them out if you want to. They're available all month. I got an email, which I'm sure a lot of you did if you are PlayStation people, that confirmed that the PS3, Vita, and PSP stores will be closing. I believe the Vita and PSP stores are closing like in June or July, and the PS3 store will be closing in August. I should have looked up those dates. I just didn't really know, but it does kind of suck and just, again, questions the digital future. And with, these storefronts closing, where are we heading with the digital future, and how secure are our rights? And I know one of the big questions I saw kind of floating around different sites was the fact that some of the developers that were making games for Vita were told ahead of time. Some of the other developers were completely blindsided by this, and they actually had to cancel products because they were trying to make games for the Vita and they didn't know the store was about to close. So they just, kind of waved the white flag and gave up and forfeited their money. And that really, really sucks, because I'm sure they just weighed the fact that, hey, we don't have that much time on the store, and we either have to rush and get the game out and be buggy and not really sell a lot, or we just cut our losses and go somewhere else. So that really sucks for the developers that were involved. I hope you're able to go and buy and get whatever games you can before then. But, I also just hope that PlayStation has some sort of better solution down the pipe for backwards compatibility and game preservation, even though that definitely seems like a thing they don't care about. So we'll keep an eye on that in the future. But for now, try to scoop up whatever games you can if you're really interested. And hopefully they'll have some sales too. The next story comes from Marie D'Alessandre from GamesIndustry.biz. She was talking about how Tencent had helped team to bust the world's biggest cheating operation. Chinese police had seized $46 million worth of assets, including luxury cars, from a cheating ring where they were possibly taking $10 a day to $200 a month to help you cheat in different online games. And they believe that the gang made $76 million in revenue. And it was just kind of funny. Their operation was named Chicken Drumstick. I don't know the significance of that, but it's still kind of a funny name. But it's just interesting of a case of an actual, Tencent has a lot of money in a lot of developers worldwide, and for them to actively help in a police investigation like this to take down a cheating ring is kind of big news throughout the gaming industry, of trying to fight back against cheaters and against people who are, making money off of exploiting their games. So I don't know what the ramifications will be for this, going forward with other cheaters or other platforms or whatever, but cool on them for, taking an initiative to make the game more fair and more fun for everybody playing it. Marie D'Alessandre also had an article on GamesIndustry.biz about Anthem director leaving BioWare. This was Jonathan Warner, who is also chief of staff, had been at the studio for almost 10 years. And this just is a long wave now, apparently, of people jumping ship. I know I talked last time about how EA had decided to cancel Anthem Next after like a year and a half in development. And we've seen, many big names leave the studio and leave the company altogether over this. And it's just more and more sad that the BioWare that we all knew and loved is just gone. And although, yes, they do exist, it's really only a matter of time now before BioWare just isn't a thing anymore. And, I know they're still working on their Dragon Age and Mass Effect and everything, but they're just not the same teams. It's not the same talent. And it's just sad when you see something that was so beloved and so many people could rally behind just kind of wither away like this. So, bummer news, but hopefully he lands on his feet somewhere and we see something cool from him down the road. Adam Michael on the PS blog had the PS Now games for April, and just most notably, it was interesting that Marvel's Avengers, Borderlands 3, and The Long Dark were all added. Avengers is only going to be there until July 5th, Borderlands 3 will be there till September 29th, and The Long Dark wasn't given a date. This kind of came in the wake of a story that we'll talk about a little later, but it just seems kind of interesting that Marvel's Avengers was added to PlayStation Now when it just seems like maybe Square Enix is just trying to get users and bolster any sort of positivity that they can. And Borderlands 3, to me, I've only heard good things. I mean, it hasn't been crazy buzz. It hasn't been a lot of people here and there, but it seems like the people that have played that game have liked it. And interesting that PlayStation scooped it up for PS Now. Not huge headliners by any means, but, hey, if you subscribe to that service, there's a couple more games you can play. Adam Bankhurst at IGN reported on a recent study that showed that there was a link between loot boxes and problem gambling that was robustly verified in a new report. Universities of Plymouth and Wolverhampton have discovered that loot boxes are structurally and psychologically akin to gambling. And they go on to list a lot of numbers and research that they did, but it is one of the ways where they actually showed that loot boxes and gambling have some sort of correlation, that they're preying on the same, center of our brain, and they can leave people that are vulnerable to that type of thing open. And the big question, or the big problem that exists, is that children who are more susceptible to this type of thing, this could already, start causing problems with people younger in life and leave them to susceptible to even worse things later on down the road. So, well, it's obviously not a good look for gaming in terms of loot boxes and gambling. Maybe if more reports come out like this, the whole loot box element will be revised and changed because, regardless of what you think, I really don't like the way it's done now anyway, because it is all that game of chance. And even if you're not spending money, it's still, if you're able to open loot boxes with the points you earn from the game, it's still a chance that you might get something, whether it be cosmetics in Overwatch or, a new gun in Call of Duty or, an egg in Pokemon or Pokemon Go, where you might be trying to get a legendary something or whatever the case may be. They need to really kind of look at that and overhaul the system, because if more and more reports come out like this, it could cause more oversight and a need to shift this, and hopefully they'll find a way to make it better and more fair to everybody and defer further problems for the youth when they get older. So kind of a bummer that there's an actual tangible negative, but hopefully it will spur change and it will make the industry better down the road. Joe Screbbles from IGN had what I think was the tagline of the week, saying CD Projekt promises not to confuse anyone again, then confuses everyone again. And what this all goes down to is that there was a strategy update presentation by CD Projekt, and President Adam Krasinski had explained that the company reconsidered its plans for a multiplayer component, but failed to fully explain what the upshot of that reconsideration will be, as noted in the article. And really this led to a lot of back and forth, where there was supposed to be a fully multiplayer game, standalone coming out. And they kind of said, well, this isn't happening, but we're going to have multiplayer in our games going future. And there will be a way for our games to kind of talk to each other and evolve on the fly. But we're not talking about it now, but we're not doing anything now, but there's going to be something in the future. And it led to the snowball effect of them really saying nothing while saying everything at the same time. So I think they said in one of their investor calls, they had up to 5 different people ask questions, and they really didn't get any clarification on anything other than them continually saying, we're not talking about what's going on now, but down the road we'll have more to admit. So it didn't really give confidence in shareholders and people on the call that CD Projekt really knows what they're doing and has a plan going forward, other than trust us, we're doing something that's going to be cool. So this just adds to the long list of problems that CD Projekt has had with the release of Cyberpunk and with, their future in general. And it's definitely been a very bummer, negative look for a company that was riding so high and had so much goodwill, for them to come crashing down so hard. In 2 years, it'll be good to check back in and see where they're at and see what they're working on and see how their tone has changed. But for now, man, they are not doing good. So we'll see how that goes. Vicky Blake over at Eurogamer said that Tencent's Timmy Studios may be the world's largest dev now. They reportedly had $10 billion of revenue in 2020 for just that studio. Now, Tencent reported a 17 billion pound in revenue in business from last year, and they didn't really give a full breakdown, but it did look like they had about 7.23 billion or 10 billion US dollars for just Timmy Studios, which is the studio behind Call of Duty Mobile and Honor of Kings. So if all those numbers are right and it all checks out, which some of them are not 100% confirmed, but that is a lot of money for one studio to be responsible for. And again, that's under Tencent's umbrella. So whatever they're doing, the acquisitions they're making, they are putting their money in the right places and seeing a huge return on their investments. Wesley Yinpool at Eurogamer had given some numbers about Outriders' launch and how it dwarfed Marvel's Avengers. They were saying that People Can Fly's looter shooter had over 100,000 concurrent players on Steam, and it was in the top-selling game at £50. And they were just kind of giving a point of comparison and saying that Avengers hit a peak of 28,145 people, and they currently have about 1,000 concurrent players over the last 30 days. And, different games, same developer, publisher, but just for them to have 100,000 and for Avengers to only have about 1,000. Granted, it's only Steam. It's only a certain platform, only certain numbers, but man, what a disparity. And it just kind of shows you that it doesn't matter what license you have attached or what characters you have attached. You have to have a fun game. In the podcast I listen to and the buzz that I kind of gather from here and there, it definitely seems like although Outriders might not have a great story, it might not have a very compelling reason to be there, it's still a lot of fun to play. And it's still a lot of fun the way that they made their loot system, the way that they made their world tier system and everything. And I mean, I know it's not fair to completely compare them because Outriders is supposed to be a complete in box product where Avengers is supposed to be a games as a service product. But I've seen a lot more people say Outriders is way more fun to play, even if it's repetitive, whereas so many people said Avengers just is so boring and there's no reason to be doing this stuff, especially because a lot of the cosmetics and gear upgrades that you get, you don't see in Avengers. You're just the same character. So at the end of the day, you still need to make your game fun. And you still need to make the reason why you're playing feel meaningful. And I think that's why Outriders at least is seeing such a huge boon right now, and why Avengers is still going to struggle to get their way back, because they just don't necessarily have that same system and that same grind in there that's as fun. So we'll see where they go, but right now Outriders seems like it's a hit and a game that people at least will come back to, down the road when other expansions and whatnot are released. Wesley Yinpool of Rio Gamer also had a very interesting story that could have wide-reaching ramifications, saying that PlayStation's game MLB The Show 21 will come to Xbox Game Pass day one. There's been a lot of other interesting things about the story where Sony or PlayStation had come out and said that was MLB's decision because MLB is publishing on Xbox, but still very crazy that a first-party studio game, which Sony San Diego had been working on for years, I think since 2005 they've been working on MLB The Show. It has been exclusive to PlayStation, and they have made that in-house for years, and this will be the first year where a PlayStation-developed exclusive first-party title will be coming day and date on Xbox, included with your Game Pass subscription, so no additional charge, where on PlayStation 5 you have to assume it's going to be $70. So I mean, everyone wants to know, or will be waiting to know when this game does come out. What are the numbers going to look like? How many people are going to go to Game Pass to get it? How many people are going to pay their $70 on PlayStation to play it on PS5? What will the concurrent players numbers be? How long will people stay? And you have to think too, people paying microtransactions on on Microsoft will, that money will also go somewhat to Xbox and MLB. It won't all just go to PlayStation like it has been. So very interesting that a first-party Sony game is going over to Xbox in some way. And I know it's all a deal that they made with the MLB, and MLB kind of said, hey, we want our game to be on more platforms, but it's just weird because you never see that, you wouldn't see, it's like having 343 make a game that also comes out on, PlayStation Plus day and date. It's unfathomable to think of, and this is the first instance we've had it. And I really think it's a unique case. I don't think we're going to see much more of this in the future, but it is one to follow for sure with great interest because, it's just such a unique outlier in the industry right now. So be keeping an eye on the numbers, that's for sure. Andy Robinson from Video Game Chronicle said that Sony had such a record year that Japan employees are going to see a 7-month salary bonus. And this is actually more than the employees had asked for, which it's just one of those feel-good stories of Sony recognizing that they did well and wanting to share the wealth with their employees, because right well if that was a United States company that they would not be giving, above and beyond the bonus that people ask for. So, I'm glad to see that there are still some companies that say, hey, we had such a great year. Let's share the wealth with the people that were out there, rather than your Bobby Kodaks of the world saying, let's lay off a bunch of staff and I'm still going to take $200 million in a bonus. Like it just feels gross, where at least with this, we have an example in the industry of someone doing it right and saying, hey, we made a bunch of money. Let's share that money with all of you who actually were on the ground working, interfacing with customers, interfacing with developers, doing the work. And just saying thank you and here's some extra cash. So cool on them for doing that. It's a good story in the industry, that's for sure. Joe Screbbles from IGN had written that Timesplitters 2 had a 4K port hidden in Homefront: The Revolution, which was really interesting in and of itself. More interesting was the person who put it in there, whose name was Matt Phillips, had said that he lost the code to unlock it. And as I had, in between the time that I had pulled this news story and everything, there's actually someone that found the code and was actually able to unlock the entire game. Now, granted, it doesn't look great. It's still, it's not up-res or anything, but it does play in 4K. Like, they didn't improve the textures or anything, but just what an interesting story for someone to kind of backdoor an entire game into another game just for fun. And it kind of reminds me of, the story of GoldenEye, where that game wasn't even supposed to have multiplayer. The team worked on it in private and just kind of before it, just like a month or two before it launched, launched, they kind of showed it to management and said, here's this thing that we have. And they were able to integrate it with the game and ship it with the multiplayer that we all, know and love to this day. But, that wasn't supposed to be there. And they kind of just snuck it in. And it's a similar story of a modern day, hey, we snuck something in here that has no right being there, but cool that it is. So, and cool that someone figured it out and was able to share that, because Matt Phillips said he had lost the notebook where he wrote down the code, and they couldn't figure it out. So, of course, leave it to the internet. Someone's going to figure it out. Brendan Sinclair from GamesIndustry.biz had reported that Twitch is changing their policies where they are going to punish misconduct that happens outside of Twitch. So basically, they've had a problem with Twitch streamers trying to use their influence to, trying to harass other people or to, gain influence outside of Twitch. And Twitch has hired, I think, a third party, some lawyers, some investigators to actually try to make sure that, hey, even though you're on Twitch and you can put forth, good face on Twitch and have a good channel, if you are not a good person outside of Twitch, we don't want you on our platform. And, I'm sure this is going to be legally murky. I'm sure it's going to cause a lot of problems and a lot of back and forth, and there's going to be some backlash. But I applaud Twitch for doing that and trying to take a stance and say, not give a platform for people that are awful people off stream to just come back on stream and make a bunch of money and pretend like everything's okay, which I'm sure, happens a lot. And, and there are so many reports now too of just things happening anyway. And I think, one of the problems that Twitch sees is that their numbers came out where, something like people who had reported, harassment or something, sexual harassment on their platform had only seen 38% or something of their reports even been taken action. And, some people were saying that, language or attitude or other things of misconduct only saw like a 24% response rate or something. And it's just, I know these companies don't really want to take responsibility and they don't want to be policing their own members, but they really, you kind of have to, in a sense, police your own users and try to make the place better, because so many people are coming to Twitch, especially in the pandemic now where you can't get out, and looking for a place to hang out with people. And if you're doing awful things on stream, or if you're just doing a good stream and then doing awful things off stream, there should be consequences for those actions. And I'm glad that Twitch is at least trying. They're at least trying to put something into place to be like, hey, be good to each other, because that's what we need more than anything. Be good to each other, be nice to each other, be good people. So good on them for at least trying. I give them props for that. In a similar vein, Matt Purslow from IGN was reporting that the Apex Legends developer is working on a system to compensate players affected by cheaters. Respawn said that there have been a lot of instances of cheating on Apex Legends, and they're trying to help people out because, when a cheater does win, first off, it sucks that the cheater won using whatever cheats and exploits that they did, but it counts you for a loss, and you don't get all the points and bonuses that you might deserve. Or you might have worked your way legitimately to whatever you are, but there are other people who team up with a cheater and they power level them above you, and they're looking for ways to punish people like that too. And again, this all comes down to fairness and trying to play the game the right way, and I applaud them for trying, because that's one of the main reasons why online playing isn't fun for me, because there are so many times when I used to play and I'm like, you see the kill cam and they're behind a wall, they're across the map, they're floating in the air, and it's just all these improbable scenarios where they obviously were doing something wrong, but what recourse do you really have? It always feels like when you do report these people, it goes to deaf ears and blind eyes. So, good on them for at least trying to recognize cheaters when they're in there and give something back to those people that were affected. So hopefully that all works out. Matt Purslow from IGN also gave a report about EA patenting an adaptive difficulty system that adjusts to keep you playing longer. Apparently in an update, the EA patents date back to 2016 and may have never been used, but it does have interesting implications where I know EA was saying that they wanted to look at various game titles that you had played and see how long you play them, and then adapt the difficulty to ensure that you play the new game for this long. And really, honestly, everything from that report just felt kind of gross. It felt like EA just coming out and saying, hey, we really want to make sure that you play our games as long as you can, if not longer. And I know EA kind of gets a bad rap for just being an awful company and being all about the money and everything, but this definitely didn't help their cause. in patenting a system that basically they even said they want you to play longer. They want you to spend more time in their games and playing their games and then potentially spending money in their games and not in other people's games. So it could be cool. It could be something where, hey, if you're bashing your head against a boss, it lowers the difficulty so that you get by. It could be something where you're breezing through and maybe, you're not having as much fun because everything feels so easy. So it bumps it up a little bit and makes the game more challenging. But I'm definitely in the camp of I want to be able to set my own difficulty because my gaming time now is so limited. A lot of times I put it on story mode or easy mode or baby mode or whatever you want to call it because I want to just get through a game and see what it all has to offer and see the story through to the end. And I don't want to feel like a game is seeing how I play and, gathering information from my other games and then adjusting things on the fly because it just doesn't feel right to me. I'm not super keen on a world where the game is trying to play me as much as I'm trying to play the game. Like, just make the game how you want it and let me adjust it to how I want to play it. At least that's how I feel. I know, easier said than done, but maybe nothing will come of this. Maybe it's already in our games and we don't really know it, but I didn't feel too keen on that report. So we'll see if anything comes of that in the future. Jordan Alleman from IGN had stated that there is a new game called Ghosts, and it is a full motion video horror game, kind of similar to, your Erica, your Late Shift, games like that, where you're watching, you're trying to play along as you're watching real live, videos play out. The interesting thing about this one is that apparently when it does release, it's only going to be playable at 10 p.m. in your local time zone each night. And however you play, you're going to be in the game, and the decisions you make in the game are going to affect the characters and their outcomes. And they say if you quit the game early, all of the characters are going to die horrible deaths. And, if you try to play the game at any other time other than 10 p.m., you'll be greeted by a blank screen and you won't be able to play. All of this sounds awesome. And it seems like the cast it's done a lot of cool things and everything. The only thing that bums me out is they haven't said anything about, well, what if you can't play every night at 10 p.m. or even, once weekly at 10 p.m. Because I know with having a family, I can't just be like, okay, 10 p.m. I know it's, bedtime. I know it's time to get everyone ready to go to sleep and everything, but I really have to play this horror game right now because I can't play it any other time. That's not going to fly. So I will be interested to see if they have any sort of solution for that, but it doesn't sound like they will. It sounds like they're kind of stuck to their guns, but this is one that I'm going to be kind of earmarking for the future to see as more information comes out because it seems like a really cool concept and seems like one that I'm really interested in, but it just seems like one I'm bummed I'm not really going to be able to, play or take advantage of. So the last story on the docket is the big one from the week. It is from Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg saying Sony's obsession with blockbusters is stirring unrest within PlayStation empire. I'm going to try to condense this as much as possible, but there had been rumors of a San Diego-based studio that was making a new game. And apparently this studio was called the Visual Arts Service Group, and they had been playing support to a lot of games, Uncharted, Last of Us, whatever, just kind of jumping in and trying to finish the game as they go. And a lot of people thought that they had high hopes for the studio and they wanted to strike out on their own. And apparently they were pitching remakes and they said, well, what about Uncharted, the first game? And the amount of money and actual work that it would have taken would have been too much. So then they came back and said, well, what about the first Last of Us? What if we do that one? Because the work on that one won't be as hard. So they said, okay. But it became very clear they weren't giving them any funding. They weren't really, yes, they said, cool, go ahead and do it, but they weren't really acknowledging it. And as time went on, more and more people from Naughty Dog got brought into the project to the point where, the Visual Arts Service Group realized, okay, well, now this really is almost a Naughty Dog project. And sure enough, it became, the whole project went under Naughty Dog's umbrella again, and the Visual Arts Service Group were relegated to supporting on this remake. And a lot of the upper management actually kind of just got fed up and either quit or just left the company altogether because they were really hoping to get a chance to strike out on their own and to actually take the reins in development, and they were not supported at all. They weren't given a budget to hire developers. They weren't given a studio name. They weren't allowed to really flourish on their own. They were kind of placated for a while until they just became more what they were, the support studio there to help out. And that became a real bummer. And in this report was also saying that Sony Bend, who had made Days Gone, had pitched a sequel to the game that got shut down. And when it got shut down, apparently the team there was asked to assist Naughty Dog in making a future Uncharted game. And, that didn't really sit well at that studio because they didn't want to become Naughty Dog North because, the Visual Arts Service Group jokingly refer to themselves as Naughty Dog South. So, with that kind of internal strife going back and forth, apparently the Uncharted game went back to Naughty Dog, and Sony Bend is working on apparently a new IP because they still weren't allowed to go forward with Days Gone 2. And, and all of this is reported, but it just kind of paints more of a picture of a PlayStation that is not PlayStation 4 PlayStation. It's, more PlayStation 3 PlayStation of, they want their Days Gone and Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us, and Horizon and their big tent poles. And one of the big problems I see with these reports is, with the reshuffling of Japan Studio and how they said, okay, everyone's gonna go to Team Asobi, who did Astro's Playroom, and we're gonna try to make this into a blockbuster because everyone loved this game. And you saw so many people from Japan Studio leave because this isn't what they wanted to do. They wanted to make their smaller, unique, fun games. And Sony just said, no, this doesn't make any sense for us. Yes, we understand that some of our games have, budgets of 100 million plus, but they could make, exponentially more than that in returns because of how successful they are. And, I feel like Sony is taking their building for their company, their building plan, and instead of making it wider, they're shrinking it narrower and building up with just their blockbusters and everything, where Microsoft is definitely widening their development strategy and making a broad base to build upon. And this story that Jason wrote definitely doesn't paint a very good picture of Sony, especially with the way that they've been treating their development studios and they've been treating their partners and everything. And it makes me leery for the future and where it's going to go. And, hopefully everything works out, but it's not really giving me a whole lot of confidence in where PlayStation 5 is going to go and where the future of the company is going to go. And the hard part is, especially in the pandemic right now, there's no actual signs that we can make as consumers through Sony because all of their consoles are just sold out. And anytime they make more, they're just gone. And I know some of it goes, still a lot of it goes to scalpers and everything. And a lot of people that want to get a PlayStation 5 still aren't able to get their hands on a PlayStation 5. But there's no message that we can really send to them that, hey, a lot of the stuff you're doing might not be cool. Yeah, of course, we're looking forward to your games. Of course, I want to play the next Horizon. I want to play whatever Ghosts, is. If there's another Uncharted game, I'm sure I'll pick that up and everything. But I want the other games too. I want the games that might come out at a $30, $40 price range and be this quirky experience, but is unique to the platform. And it seems like they're getting rid of a lot of that. And it just also doesn't seem like they have that stable of games that are going to reel me in. And, hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully the future goes well and everything works out well. But definitely this story and a lot of other stories that have come out haven't made me, super confident in Sony and their decisions going forward and their roadmap. So we'll see how it all pans out. But it's kind of a bummer story to hear how things, at Sony, again, still behind the scenes don't seem like they're going too well. That wraps it for the news. Let's kick on over to the extra. Again, the extra is just stories I don't have much to say about, but, just felt like touching on them. First one up is PAX East is canceled. Of course, that means the, live in-person event. I think they're still going to do an online event from July 15th to the 18th or June. I think it's July 15th to the 18th. No surprise there. We're not ready. So cool that they acknowledged it this early so that people could cancel, but cool also that they still have an online event that you can attend. Xbox is going to be making mini fridges. Apparently they won a Twitter competition, and the ongoing joke of Xbox looking like a fridge, they have just leaned into it further, and these are apparently going to be available to the public, because I know before they have made a couple fridges, but they're just, given to very specific people, like I think Snoop Dogg got one or something. So cool that they embrace it. There's a report that Remedy is working on Alan Wake 2. I'm putting this in the extra because this would be top news if it were legitimate and actually confirmed and everything. And although the sources that I've seen are legitimate, until I hear official word from Remedy that they're working on this game, I'm not going to get my hopes up, because I know reading the documents for Alan Wake 2, the canceled version of the game back in the day, it seemed really cool. So if they're making that version of the game, I'm 1,000% in. But until it's officially reported, I'll hold my breath a little bit there. Microsoft listed 22 ID at Xbox games coming to Game Pass. They had an over 4-hour long stream where they kind of, showed you a bunch of these games and a bunch of behind the scenes looks and everything. You can feel free to go and check that out over at, Microsoft's Twitch, or they have a lot of sites that are run down and everything, but just making you aware that there are a lot of, cool, smaller games coming to Microsoft. And, if you're interested, check them out. E3 announced their dates. They are going to be June 12th to the 15th, and they emphasized that all the events will be free because I know there was a lot of rumor about a paywall or a subscription fee or whatever. So good that they came out and said, hey, all this stuff's going to be free. You'll be able to watch for free. Still be interesting to see how this all pans out because of last year and how everything went. And will this feel better? But, we'll see. Pac-Man 99, I know I kind of talked about this in what I've been playing. It got released. It's out there. So if you own a Switch, go ahead and download it. It's for free as long as you're part of the online. So neat game. Check it out. Cool. Deathloop got delayed till September. Again, with the pandemic and everything and all the working from home, cool that they delayed it to make it right. The only thing I hope is please just don't put any more trailers out. Just when it comes out, maybe reintroduce it briefly, no big trailers, and let it go because I feel like the marketing push for this one has been very aggressive, and I don't need to see any more of it. So I hope I don't get worn out when it does come, around September again. And the last thing from the extra is that Kojima is reportedly in talks with Xbox to make a new game. I know this was on, I think, Kind of Funny Games Daily, where Jeff Grubb in the chat had said that the lawyers were in talks, and that was about the last thing. But again, until I get an official announcement from anyone, I don't know what this means. I don't know where this is going, Obviously, I'm sure Kojima still likes his independence, and maybe he's just making a one-off game for Xbox to be released in Japan. I don't know, but until I hear more, let's just wait and see, because he's been working with Sony so much, and this could fall through. Who knows? But reportedly, it's out there. So that does it for all of the news and all of the extra. So when I come back, let's talk about what's been on my mind. All right, and welcome back to segment 3, What's on My Mind. And what's on my mind this week is falling out of love with online gaming. Online gaming had its roots in co-op gaming, and for me, that of course was playing local multiplayer with my friends. It was, GoldenEye in the basement, playing Mario Kart in the basement, playing Madden with friends here and there, having all those different experiences of just getting together and playing whatever game against each other and going back and forth. Even, Nagano Winter Olympics, we played constantly on the 64, and we would compete against each other all the time to get high scores and this and that. And it was always fun to just, come over, boot up a system, even World Class Track Meet, having the two different players on the map. It was always fun to just play with each other and try to have that competitive edge, but still have fun, just hanging out with some friends. And I'll never forget the story about my mom who was playing Hearts online on, Hearts on the computer. And she said at one point, I was watching her play, and she said, I wish I could play with other friends or with other people or online or something. And I said, oh yeah, you can do that. Here, let me show you. And wow, that was the downfall of my time on the computer, because she went and signed up for, I think it was Excite Games at the time, and it became Pogo. And man, she was on the computer constantly playing with other people, whether it was Hearts or Euchre or Solitaire or Word Womp or whatever. She just loved being able to just go on and know that she wasn't playing the computer. She was playing someone else. Someone else was at their computer playing against her. And, even if they didn't talk or they didn't, meet in real life or whatever, it was still kind of cool knowing that you were playing with someone and you're connected with someone. And I think that's one of the biggest appeals of playing multiplayer online against someone or with someone, is that, you have that human connection. You're not just playing against a computer. And I know for me, the first time I got online was with my 360, even though I know the original Xbox and PS2, you had your network adapters and everything. You could play online, I think, with other people. But 360 was the first time I signed up for Xbox Live. And man, I played a ton. I had a couple friends where, we would play Call of Duty constantly. Every year we'd get the new one and we'd go on and play multiplayer, and we'd always make sure we're on the same team, and we'd just chat and kind of run around the map and do what we did. And every now and then we'd, boot up a game of Madden and just play against each other. Or one of the best stories I have is simply Team Fortress 2, where, there's me and this one friend where we were so good at this game. We'd jump in sometimes where they'd be paying 2 fort and they'd be down 3-1, and we'd jump on the other team, that the team was losing, and we would win that game 5-3. And it was just crazy because we just knew how to play that game and what characters to use, and we would see what our teammates were playing and we'd adjust on the fly, and we had so much fun. But I still remember the one time we got on there, and it was very clear that even on the 360, we were playing with some PC player that had hacked the 360 or something, because there was a rainbow bridge connecting one side to the other, and there was one guy who was just all in green and you couldn't shoot him. And you're playing 2 fort, which is captured the flag basically, and you couldn't collect the briefcases because they were behind the map, and there was other people behind the map, and I think they had 0 gravity or low gravity turned on, so you jump and go flying. And it was the weirdest experience ever. But man, like we were just laughing so hard because we had taken a lot of time to learn this game and play it so good. And then to just be thrown a loop with just an absolutely bizarre situation, it was just a blast. And we were laughing the whole time and just having a great time. And the same friend, we played Unreal Tournament, and that was also crazy too because they had like one of these smallest maps, and it was just rocket launchers, and you would basically like fall down a tunnel and run at the other team, and there would just be rockets flying everywhere, and people would dying left and right and respawning, and it was one of those ones too where like you just couldn't help but laugh because you had no idea what was going on, and you were just constantly respawning. And some of those moments were, legitimately some of the best gaming moments I've had playing games, let alone the times that we'd play Rock Band and just be rocking out to songs, or Guitar Hero and rocking out to songs with each other, and just playing along to music that we loved, or, Halo, playing either multiplayer and getting those kills, or trying to go through the campaign legendary. Same thing with Gears, trying to play the game co-op with someone, or getting on Horde mode, which I absolutely love Gears Horde mode. And I still remember the one time I got on with the team, and we made it. We got through all 50 levels, and it was a grind, and it was tough, and it took hours, but man, it's just so fun to know that like you were sitting there and there was 3 other people somewhere else in the world sitting at their console playing together and all just trying to beat this level and get through and get that achievement, and it felt so good. And those moments were ones that I'll always have, but it just kind of sucked as you got older, times changed, you had less time to get online with your friend, whether circumstances changed, families changed, girlfriends, boyfriends, marriage, kids, whatever. You had less time to play online with each other, and less time to talk, and less time to hang out. And that part of it definitely did suck. And I know that is one of the main reasons that contributed to me falling out online, because I really don't have friends to play with online. And playing online solo is just hard because try your best to contribute to the team and to fit in, and it doesn't matter how good you do, if you're not on mic and if you don't know the people, you just can't really relate to them. And I know one of the stories I have with that is Battleborn. I loved playing that game, even though it wasn't super, well received and everything. But, I was a Miko main, and I felt like I did really good, as a healer and playing. And I got in this one match where we fought back and we held our own, and then we eventually won. And I had a good team, but I couldn't play on mic because I think at the time, my daughter now was really young, and I just couldn't talk. And it just sucked because even though I had this really good team and we bonded and I could hear them talking about me, they left, and they just left me behind, and I tried to reconnect with them to play another match, but they didn't accept. But it just sucked because I couldn't play with a mic because she was napping or sleeping at night, or whatever time that I had free to play. I just couldn't connect with them, and it just sucked because it was like I had a good time, we had a lot of fun, but I couldn't connect with them, and then I couldn't continue on with them. And now they're gone, and the game's gone. But moments like that are kind of one of the things that suck about time moving on, and not being able to enjoy the online experience as much, let alone the times where you would try to play online with someone and you'd have a good time or whatever, and then they would be like, hey, let's play again, hey, let's play again, hey, let's play again, and they'd just be constantly nagging you when maybe you only had 20 minutes to play, and so you could only play one more time, and they'd still be hitting you up and hitting you up and hitting you up, and that part of it kind of sucked. But then on the other side, you might play with someone great and you'd be like, hey, that was a lot of fun, you want to play again? And you just never hear from them. They just ghost you. And, it's all different personalities and how they want to play, but it just kind of sucks trying to wade through all the randos out there and trying to find someone that you can connect to and continue playing with. On top of that, it just sucked with the way that things have gone lately, where there's so much hate speech and so many people who just leave their mics unmuted and they're playing loud music, or they're just chatting with their friends or whatever. And there's no universal simple solution to get rid of that stuff, where I just there are communities out there where you can find some people, like-minded people, and group up with them and everything. But if you want to try to just go out there and play a game and try to get involved in something that you might love, it is very hard to get into the multiplayer scene and wade through all the crap that's out there right now to try to find some good people to play with, unless you are part of a community and you can team up with different players and find like-minded individuals who will talk with you on your level and meet you where you are in your life. It is tough if you're a solo player just getting out there trying to do that, and that's one of the things that definitely deters me from getting out there. There are some games like Titanfall and Battlefront recently that have come out, and they try to curtail this a little bit. Where yes, there is a 5-on-5, 10-on-10, 20-on-20, whatever scenario there is, but there's a lot more going on in the world where you can take out AI opponents, you can capture objectives, you can do different things in the world. Well, maybe not grandly and affecting the whole scope of things. At least you feel like you're part of something. You feel like you're doing something, and if you're not a high skill level player, you at least feel like you are able to contribute and able to get kills or captures or something where you feel like you're contributing. Because a lot of times with games like Overwatch and like Halo, it's so tough because the skill ceiling is so high. And the times that I did play Overwatch, it was fun. But if I ever tried to jump into ranked, forget about it, because I just was never as good. I didn't understand the meta, and everyone would be yelling at me, and I would get complained about constantly because, I was trying to get in there, but I just wasn't as good. And the people that are on there are definitely not as welcoming or as forgiving for you to try to jump in as ranked. When, you're trying to get into it, I felt like I had a good handle on what I was doing. I felt like I knew at least a few characters I could play, but it didn't matter. Because, the toxicity of some of those communities are just so hard to overcome that, it just turns off players like me who I want to have fun. I want to play. I want to get ranked. I want to get better, but it's just so hard to do that because the people out there are not as forgiving, especially too, because, I am getting older. My skill is not there. I'm not 18 anymore. I'm mid 30s. So I definitely don't have the reflexes and everything that it takes to be a very skilled player. But I mean, knowing that there are games out there like that, at least it could lead me to getting into it later, getting involved again at some point in the future. I know in some instances like Outriders, I know they said that they are going to start watermarking their cheaters so that you can actually see who is cheating. And you can, void them if you want. I think they're also going to be put into lobbies to try to match them up with other cheaters so that they don't get into the main game. I know Call of Duty, they're constantly banning people. League of Legends is constantly banning people for cheating and everything. So I know there are instances like that where things are looking up, where they are trying to fight back and make the experience, more equal to everyone and more inviting for the newer players or for the less skilled players. I did read a report too recently where there was an anti-cheat software that is prevalent on PC that is coming to consoles. So that could also be another good thing, because if they have a way to identify cheaters and to boot them or to get them out of the system, that could make way for, more fun for casual players like me or for people just looking to have a good time. So there definitely was a time in the last 5 years where it was very hard for me to even consider going online and playing a game. But with different things that people are doing, different strides that developers are making, and different game modes like in Battlefront or in Titanfall, to make newcomers or less skilled people feel more included and feel more like they're on a level playing field. Who knows, maybe in the next 5 or 10 years I'll get back into multiplayer gaming a lot, because they'll find a way to make game modes that are more fun for everyone and more inclusive for everyone, and still have that single player feeling and single player fun, but with other people. And that's all you really want, is just to be able to feel connected and feel like you're playing together, or feel like you're playing with a bunch of people without being ostracized or hated on or whatever. So although there was definitely a very dark patch, the future I feel is looking bright, and I feel like, maybe in the next couple of years there will be a good solution for this. So that's what's on my mind, and that about ends the show. So hopefully you've enjoyed episode 3. Part 2. If you did, please feel free to leave a comment, leave a message. You can find me at mtgrpgme on Twitter, rpgme show on Instagram. You can email show@rpgme.net. That'll email straight to me. You can go to our website, rpgme.net. There is a contact page there. You can submit a question or concern or whatever thought to the podcast. You don't need to leave a name or an email. So if you want to be anonymous, you can do it that way. That's totally cool. My shows post on Apple Podcast, on Spotify. They're automatically grabbed there, and third-party services, we're available with those links. I'm also on YouTube. You can search Matt Talks Games if you want to see me. I don't know why you would, but hey, it's just a basic video here. It's obviously more of a podcast than a video podcast, so I encourage you to listen more. If you want to, you can also go to rpgme.net/mtg. All the episodes are posted there. You can download them there or stream them live there. You can leave comments there. You can leave comments on YouTube. Feel free to reach out however you want. I'd be more than happy to hear, any sort of discourse, any sort of comments, suggestions, anything you liked or didn't like. Feel free to anything, cool. hopefully you enjoy it. And if you did, then I'll see you for episode 4, probably in another 2 weeks, because that seems to be on my schedule. So until then, happy gaming.